Building an online business can be very frustrating. When we start out as entrepreneurs, we're usually hopefully optimistic and we have an important message that we want to get out to the world, or we have a great product or service and we feel like surely if we build it, they will come. This thing that I have is so great and so valuable. Surely if I put it out there, people will find me. And then reality sets in, because the response to your new website, your latest piece of content, your new product or service is generally always the same: crickets. No matter how much work you put into it, no matter how much you care about your message and your product, no matter how much you want to help, you are not seeing more traffic, a growing subscriber number, more followers, or really anything at all. So then we realize, okay, indeed, build it and they will come does not work. And what's the solution to that? We have to learn marketing.
1, 2, 3, go!
We have to get into all the marketing stuff, and we start learning all this stuff about what we're supposed to do differently, how to write headlines, how to make better content, how to present our products, and so on. But unfortunately, even there, the frustration usually doesn't end. Instead, you find yourself doing more and more work and being overwhelmed with all these different tips and all these different things you're supposed to do in order to grow an audience online and grow your business online. And even though you're doing so much more work, and instead of working on your business as you imagined you would, you're basically sitting there staring at a screen all day, trying to write better headlines and trying to use social media the right way and so on. You're doing all this work, you're putting in all this work, and the results are just still disappointing. Now, the good news is there is a reason why the stuff you're doing is not bringing you the results you hope for. And there is a better way of doing it. I have been building online businesses for over 10 years, and I've been doing things very differently from what you'd imagine if you read online marketing blogs and follow general online marketing advice. I think countless entrepreneurs could greatly benefit from a completely different approach to building an online business. But there is a problem here, and it is greatly summarized in a Chinese proverb about filling a cup. This is the first problem we have to solve. Right now, your cup is already full of all the wrong ideas, of all the ideas that have kept you stuck where you are. So the very first thing we have to do is empty the cup. And that's what this video is for. Right here, I want to help you unlearn 2 of the biggest mistakes that are keeping you stuck. The 2 things we have to unlearn are what I call the old paradigm and the great gap. So let's start with the old paradigm. Tell me if this sounds at all familiar for online marketing advice. You have to post more. You have to post more often, you have to post on a regular schedule, and you have to post everywhere, on every possible channel and on every possible social media platform. And if that doesn't work, then the problem is that you're not posting enough. And the solution is post even more. Do even more of the stuff that isn't working. And even that is not enough, because we also have to do the social selling, where we have to reply to every single comment, reply to every single email we get. And whenever people comment on your stuff, send them a direct message, get into a chat conversation with people and try to sell them your stuff there. There's no shortage of so-called marketing experts who relentlessly beat the drum of posting more, posting everywhere, and doing more and more and more. But this just doesn't work well as a way to grow an online business. And the sheer number of entrepreneurs who are doing their very best to follow this advice and getting basically 0 results should be proof enough. What's happening here is that this is an attempt to take an old strategy from the physical world, specifically door-to-door sales, and transpose it onto the internet. If you're a door-to-door salesperson, what you can do is you can go out and knock on the door and then ask the person who opens the door if they want to buy your insurance or your kitchen knife set or whatever it is that you are selling. And if they say no, you go to the next door, you knock on that door, and so on. And if you do this enough, and if you try hard enough, then eventually you'll have made a good number of sales. Now, in the old paradigm with door-to-door sales, you can do this kind of work to essentially cover an entire area. But if we try to take this strategy and bring it to the internet, it simply doesn't work. The internet is an ocean of messages. And trying to blanket the internet with your message is just not going to work. Even if you bring a big bucket of messages to the ocean that is the internet, you're never going to make a significant difference. Now look, I could tell you a simple story that just says all of this kind of stuff simply doesn't work. Any kind of door-to-door sales stuff applied online doesn't work and you should never do it. But I'm not one for simple answers. So let me give you the actual truth. Reaching out to people, trying to engage people one-on-one can work, but it's something for an early stage business where the goal is to validate a business idea and maybe get your first customer, your first 10 customers. And for that, it is fine. But this is not a strategy that you can use to build the kind of online business that I bet you wanted to build. I bet you didn't dream of being an online salesperson who has to work 24/7 forever and ever in order to keep income going. Instead, what we want with an online business is we want something that can work independently in the virtual space without us always having to trade time for money. And for this goal, the door-to-door salesman approach simply does not work. Smart entrepreneurs and highly successful online businesses know this and don't follow the old paradigm. The old paradigm on the internet has been replaced with a new paradigm called inbound marketing. Inbound marketing is basically a reversal of the door-to-door sales approach, where instead of going out to where people are, interrupting them, knocking on the door and hoping they'll say yes, we do the opposite. The goal of inbound marketing is to get people who want what I have to offer to come to me. And that is our first key takeaway right there. Start unlearning all this door-to-door sales stuff. Whenever you see any kind of advice about online marketing, any kind of new marketing strategy or online marketing tip, ask yourself, does this fit the old paradigm, or will this help me build an inbound marketing-based online business that can work independently of my input? The second problem that's keeping entrepreneurs stuck is the great gap. Now, when it comes to the old paradigm, there's a bunch of information that's just bad information. It doesn't fit the purpose, and it's best if we ignore it and forget about it. With the great gap, the problem is a bit more complicated because there's a lot of information that is not wrong, but it's the wrong kind of information. Here's the kind of thing I mean. The length of the average blog post is 1,142 words. However, posts with 3,000 words or more get 3 times more traffic, 4 times more shares, and 3.5 times more backlinks than the average blog post. On YouTube, the ideal video length for click-through and engagement is between 6 and 8 minutes. However, for monetization, the ideal length is 10 to 11 minutes. Content that has a separate social sharing thumbnail is 316% more likely to get shared on Facebook than content without an image. The ideal image dimensions for Facebook are 1200 by 628 pixels, and the ideal image dimensions for a range of social sites like Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and so on is a square image of 1200 by 1200 pixels. Blog posts with a title length of 6 to 12 words get more traffic than articles with longer or shorter titles. On YouTube, titles between 42 to 60 characters get the most clicks, and titles with over 70 characters perform 37% worse than shorter titles. List posts and infographics get up to 90% more shares than regular articles. And for list posts, the ideal number of items on the list is 10. A top 10 list gets more shares than lists of any other number. Maximize email open rates sent on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. with a subject line of between 6 and 10 words. The best time of the week to post to Facebook for maximum engagement is Wednesday between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. The best time to post on Instagram is Wednesday and Friday between 10 and 11 a.m. And for Twitter, it's Wednesday and Friday at 9 a.m. Everything in that list is factually true. So everything you just saw is based on research and data, and it is all factually true. But it's the wrong kind of information. And if you think about it, can you see how this kind of thing is just never going to really move the needle? It's a bit like we're looking at a map that has a huge chunk in the middle missing, and everybody's just focusing on all this stuff on the periphery, which is correct and interesting, but nobody's going, hold on, what about this bit in the middle? For example, you can easily tell that if you write 2,000 or 3,000 words of just inane, meaningless nonsense, and you create a catchy headline for it, following all the rules with all the right word count, that's not actually going to work, is it? The actual substance of the text, of the email, of the video, of the tweet will always make a far bigger difference than all these technical, low-impact details. Why then is the internet full of this low-impact information? Well, it's because this is the easy stuff. You can easily quantify things like word count and video length and so on, and come up with these stats that also make for a catchy headline. You can put them in a shareable infographic, and that is the way information spreads the most easily. The stuff at the edge of the map is shareable, goes viral, is easy to write about and easy to measure and quantify. The stuff at the center of the map, that is more complex, and you can't make a neat little infographic that sums up the step-by-step success recipe for creating a piece of content that people will actually engage with and actually love. And there's also a nasty little hidden truth in all these facts, which is to say that yes, long blog posts get more shares, but most people are not going to read your 3,000 words. So if you have 3,000 interesting words, but you can't sum it up in a catchy headline or in an infographic, then you don't have that nice situation where people can see something, kind of skim through it and go, oh wow, this is very substantive. I'm going to read it later, but I'm going to share it now, which is how most online sharing happens. So the entire system is signal boosting all of the wrong stuff. If we really pay attention, not just to averages, but especially to successful outliers, we can see that there are plenty of brands, businesses, and content creators who break all of these rules and do extremely well for themselves. For example, YouTube creators like Bacon or Tomska, who post very rarely, very irregularly, and super short videos, but get hundreds of thousands of views. Or creators like ContraPoints, who also post very rarely, but extremely long, very in-depth, complex videos, and gets millions of views. Or Matt D'Avella, who seems to break all the rules about how you have to have clickbaity, spectacular, exciting titles on YouTube in order to be successful. Or what about the Joe Rogan podcast? In an age where everyone's always talking about how everyone's attention spans are diminishing, the most successful podcast in the world often posts 3-hour-long conversations. And we can look to websites and blogs to find even more rule breakers. We have James Clear, who is a highly successful blogger, one of the most successful ones in his space, who posts quite rarely, almost never uses catchy titles or images, often writes short but to the point posts, and has massive success doing so. Or Cal Newport, who also doesn't have a publishing schedule, often publishes very short posts, but is a highly sought after writer. Or Wait But Why, one of the most successful blogs on the internet, posts completely irregularly, quite rarely, posts the kind of stuff you would never get to by following a bunch of internet marketing tips, and is hugely successful. And the list of these exceptions goes on and on and on. The reason these creators are successful is because they focus on the stuff in the center of the map that you simply won't find by following the latest top 10 internet marketing tips blog posts. So what can we learn from these creators? And what can we do to get this kind of success that doesn't follow the mainstream advice? Now that we've emptied your cup of 2 of the worst problems that are keeping you stuck, in the next video, we'll start exploring that important centerpiece of the map. And make sure you subscribe below if you want to get notified when the next video is released.